to introduce you to Rebecca Robinson. Rebecca is the director of ZAP, the Zinfandel Advocates and Producers Association, which is a fellow nonprofit with whom we're delighted to have a collaboration. And Rebecca, welcome. You have some beautiful old Zinfandel behind you. And tell us about yourself and about ZAP, the aims of ZAP, and the activities that you undertake.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I am delighted to be with you today. It is absolutely such a treat. By the way, yes, I am in front of some old vines from Napa Valley. It's the Aldo's Vineyard, and it's owned by and lovingly taken care of by Robert Bialy Vineyards. So such a treat to be showing that off. Yes, I serve as executive director for Zinfandel Advocates and Producers, ZAP. We have been around since 1991, telling the story of Zinfandel. The organization was formed really for the purpose that still exists today, to preserve and promote the qualities of old vine Zinfandel and telling that Zinfandel story, which is so integral to the history of California winemaking going back to the mid-1800s. And we have traveled all over the world telling that story. We are most known for a festival that we produce every January in San Francisco. It's called ZinX. And for your listeners and viewers today, we invite you all to come to San Francisco. It takes place January 25, 26, 27. And it is a celebration of all things Zinfandel, 80 producers. We do a lot of seminars and wine pairings, and just generally have a wonderful time tasting the latest vintage. Winemakers from all over California attend. But we're also known for our educational programs, and we've been talking a little bit about our latest initiative. I don't know if you want me to go ahead and jump into telling you about that.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Oh, I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted. So we, for a number of years, have recognized that we really need to tell that story of how Zinfandel has had that legacy for so long. And we created a project several years ago called Legendary Zinfandel Vineyards. And that is so exciting because it takes you into the vineyard and it talks with the winemakers and the growers about what makes their old vine cherished Zinfandel so special. And so we have that as part of our library, and we've really built out our content for all the different stories over the last few years. And our latest initiative, and actually I am in Dallas, Texas, because we just finished filming a story about Zinfandel and food pairings last night with a wonderful chef here. And we're going to be releasing that episode a little later in the year. But our latest initiative is called Zinfandel Live. And so for all of, again, your viewers, I would encourage you to visit that website. We have a family of websites. They all can be found at zinfandel.org. But Zinfandel Live is really explaining Zinfandel, we hope, in a way that translates for new consumers to explore Zinfandel and to fall in love with it.
And Zinfandel as a variety has a kind of almost mixed blessings, doesn't it, in the US? So you have this incredible heritage, but yet in some ways it's a rather misunderstood variety.
Yes. Well, there are so many layers to that. So first of all, it really was not well understood where Zinfandel came from. They knew it came from Europe, but they didn't know exactly where. And so we've gone on Zinfandel safaris, and we've had researchers from UC Davis exploring the world and figuring out that Zinfandel originated in Croatia, but that it's a very ancient grape that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, that it traveled from Europe to the United States in the early 1800s, and then came to California during the gold rush. And so that really became, Zinfandel was actually the most popular red varietal grape in the late 1800s. But those vines, and why we're here and talking about the importance of those vines, is that history and that legacy and the quality that those old vines produce in terms of the winemaking. And that legacy continues to live on today. But as with all things in the marketplace, you find yourself faced with a lot of different aspects to how these things evolve. And Zinfandel in the 1970s became extremely popular with white Zinfandel. And to this day, Zinfandel is still in many circles thought of as a white grape. It is not a white grape. It is a red grape. It can be produced in many, many styles. And we're fortunate. I had a beautiful sparkling Zinfandel last night from one of our producers. So it can be done in a light rosé style, dry. It can be done in the sweet white Zinfandel style. And that is still extremely popular. And in fact, that popularity of white Zinfandel was really, to a large degree, what saved many of these old vines from being ripped out in the 70s and the 80s, before red Zinfandel really took hold in the marketplace, and we were able to start talking about that and having all of these different activities around red Zinfandel.
And I think, so I know you're very keen to tell the more nuanced and rich story of Zinfandel, in that really its heritage is that it was kind of a mixed, there were many mixed black plantings that involved Zinfandel, and certainly some of the oldest vineyards. That's right, isn't it?
Indeed. There are, again, so many different aspects to this. So Zinfandel is planted throughout California. And when it was originally planted by Italian immigrants to a certain degree, they interplanted other varietals. And so you have in these beautiful old vine vineyards, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases of these old vines, you have Petit Syrah, Alicante Bouschet, Mourvedre or Mataro, as it's called here, and Grenache, and other varieties. In fact, there are literally hundreds of varieties that can be interplanted in a Zinfandel vineyard. And so again, that adds to the complexity of the wine, to the winemaking styles. It also adds to the regionality aspect of Zinfandel. And so it's a wonderful distinction. And today, when now vineyards are being planted, some vineyard owners are even looking to those old black vineyards and saying, what did they know that we don't? What is it that we can learn from that? And so they're planting other varietals within their vineyards to gain that rich character that a great Zinfandel is actually known for.
So this is another example of, learning regarding the practice of the past, and then think, actually, these guys weren't stupid. Why did they do that? And
exactly
incorporating that into the future. And you also told me that Zinfandel has a very site-specific adaptation trait. So, and I believe that informed your decision to initiate and recently complete then the Heritage Vineyard project.
We're very proud. Yes, thank you. We're very proud of the work that we did with the Heritage Vineyard project. It was a 20-year project, and it was done in collaboration with the University of California at Davis. And it was originally planted in 1993 with about 96 selections of Zinfandel vines. And those are actually permanently now archived for future plantings. So we've saved the material from that. It's at the UC Davis archive. And from there, then we did another trial where we took 20 of those selections and did winemaking, and we did all kinds of different research. We tested berry size and all the different characteristics of what happens in a vineyard. And really the result was that, well, there are differences between those different selections. And I should actually back up for a moment and say that part of the study of this was to collect these selections from around California. And so when we talk about that site specificity, what has always been known and cherished about Zinfandel is that the Zinfandel that is grown in the Sierra foothills is very different from the composition of Zinfandel that is grown in Dry Creek Valley, or even in Sonoma Valley, both in Sonoma County, or the Napa Valley Zinfandels that do, I want to tell you, they do still exist. They are absolutely wonderful, and we want to keep those going. So throughout California, Paso Robles is another incredible wine growing area. Mendocino, I mean, it just goes on and on. Even down in Southern California, we have Old Vine Zinfandel. And so by collecting all of these different selections from Zinfandel vineyards that they knew were producing great wines and studying them, what we came to learn is that the differences really are terroir driven. So it's, while there are some differences, now, for example, we know that Primitivo and Zinfandel are very much related. When they're grown side by side, they exhibit very different characteristics. So that was a very important part of the research. And the other aspect to that is that this research then enabled us to have clean selections from UC Davis going through the nurseries so that we could plant these old vines in the future. Because after all, we know that they aren't going to live forever. We hope that they live many, many, many years in the future, but it's a way of us preserving that history.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I know that you're very keen to continue to share this greater nuance of Zinfandel, and really to your aim is that you want to convey the world-class quality potential of Zinfandel, and really to almost realize the full potential of these old sites. And this is a theme we've heard a lot through the sessions today and yesterday, that actually these old vineyards often come into a kind of a second life that is given to them through time, when they've gone through all of that time. In the 70s, they might have been making, you know, white or even blushes in, but now it's like there's an opportunity for them to really come into their own. So Rebecca, this is sort of just a little taster really to Zap. I know we're going to be collaborating together, and I look forward to announcing more of those projects soon. But if people want to learn more about you, you know, support you, how can they do that?
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, so please visit zinfandel.org. We have our library of videos there. We have the history of Zinfandel there. You can get in touch with me through the website at info@zinfandel.org. We are so excited to be collaborating with the Old Vine Conference, and I think that the work that you're doing in terms of, you know, getting the recognition for old vines is so incredibly important, because if we don't have that recognition, and if the marketplace doesn't acknowledge that these special wines are really worth the trouble, the vines are in trouble. And so we need to make sure that that happens. And that has been ZAP's mission for over the last 30 years, is to really get out and show that. And we've seen the quality of Zinfandel just absolutely just blossom in the last 20 years. It's been absolutely incredible. And so we expect that to continue. We expect to have these vines in the ground for a long time so that we can enjoy them and just have a wonderful diversity of wine in California.
That's an absolutely perfect summary of the value and the need to preserve these old vineyards. So thank you so much, Rebecca. It's time to close this session. And I would just like to thank all of our panelists, all of our members and sponsors, and also all of the people who've joined us today as guests, and for your questions, for your engagement. I must also thank my amazing, incredible colleague, Belinda Stone, who really has made all of this happen. She's stayed off screen, but Belinda, thank you. You're amazing. This wouldn't happen without you. We would love to keep in touch. Please do visit oldvines.org for information on our activities, and also links to the many, many great organizations around the world supporting and nurturing old vine heritage. You can also find more on our website about becoming members, about our upcoming tastings, although we'll be also publishing more information on our recent and upcoming field trips. So please do connect, keep in touch. And there are many ways to get involved, and all the details are on the website. And that's it from me. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy a glass of beautiful old vine wine this evening, wherever you are. Thank you.